Welcome back. Now, without a South African birth certificate, the possibility of going to university is slim to none. This is the reality for many young immigrant youth in South Africa who finished high school but can't study further because they don't have an ID document. Civic organization Save the Children is fighting for the rights of these young people. To speak more to us about this particular issue, I'm joined by Patience Zhao. She is the project manager for Save the Children South Africa. Patience, thank you very much for your time here on All Angles. Just tell me how big the problem is. I know that you're looking particularly at provinces such as Limpopo in the Vembet district for now, but how huge is this problem?
Good day, Masejo, and good day to your viewers. So in terms of the problem, in terms of actual numbers, it's not very easy to say because actually the challenge even touches on citizen children. So currently at Save the Children, we do work with migrant children, including in Gauteng, Mpumalanga, as well as the Free State, where we do meet these children and we try to assist them by linking them to organizations that promote the birth registration, including offering them pro bono legal services. And currently, I think in Limpopo, we do know of about 26 children that wrote matric last year, but they are stuck in as much as they have passed because of the documentation issues. And this touches even refugee children as well as other migrant children that are without refugee claims.
And just tell me something, in terms of how these children find themselves in this situation. For instance, we've covered a story where a South African child was unfortunately born at home, and her 7 siblings didn't get birth certificates because the mother didn't go to Home Affairs to get her registered. Is this the same situation with some of the children that you're helping?
Yes, so some of the children that we are helping are children that are born between a migrant that is not documented or has got a passport but without the valid visa, and the South African father. Mostly those are the ones that face challenges because the Home Affairs system makes it easier for a mother who is South African and fully documented to be able to do birth registration for the children, leaving a majority of other children that we work with that are born between an immigrant and the South African father without any easy access to the birth registration system. And also we do have children in the Limpopo area that are born of Mozambican parents that have been naturalized just after South Africa attained its democracy. So they have got, the parents have got IDs, but they don't necessarily link the children to be able to also access South African documentation. So they would attend schools, but when it comes now to them progressing to tertiary without an ID, it becomes a challenge.
How does a school accept a child without a birth certificate to start with? I thought that, when you apply for your child, you're supposed to hand in some type of identity documents. So are we even sure that these young people are going to schools that are actually registered?
So it's not an easy process to also register a child or to enroll a child into school without birth certificate. But we are grateful because in the period 2020-2021, the Minister of Education did issue a circular after the Phakamisa judgment, which made it unconstitutional for children to be denied access to school because of non-provision of a birth certificate. So you would find that even in terms of its actual application, principals as well as administrative people responsible for school registration, if they are not aware of this circular, still children would find it difficult to get into mainstream education. So again, we have some children who struggle to get into mainstream education because of documentation, but that's where we also work to advocate and also ensure that schools as well as school admins, they are aware of this circular that promotes the admission of children without birth certificates. And indeed, you'd find that majority of other immigrant children, they are going into schools that are unregistered because of the aspect of being non-documented as well as not having a study visa in the country, which allows them to be enrolled into public or mainstream schools.
So what has been your communication with the Home Affairs Department? I'm sure, we are aware of how sensitive issues are in South Africa when it comes to undocumented migrants, etc., and some of the debates that have been going on and on in South Africa in terms of undocumented migrants and how we deal with that scourge as well. So, but these children obviously did nothing wrong. All they did was pass matric, and they want to be able to be a good part of society, right? So I'm sure you've been trying to get in touch with, for instance, the Home Affairs departments to see how you can be assisted. How have those conversations went? What's been the conclusion so far?
Okay, so obviously, as an organization, we also do work in partnership with other organizations. And on this specific advocacy piece, we are working to try and also assist the Department of Home Affairs to really understand the barriers in their system through research. So we are engaging with them. We intending to have a look at their documentation system, how it applies, how it enables or has got challenges for parents and children in terms of accessing birth registration, be it for citizens, because apparently even a lot of citizen children are struggling to access birth registration and eventually documentation, because without a birth registration, it will be difficult for a child to get the documentation. So I think the rules of advocacy sometimes can be quite slow, but we work with other organizations in what we call a national interagency working group, where there is a variety of international organizations as well as local organizations to try and see how best we can work with the Department of Home Affairs as well as other relevant government departments that include the Department of Social Development as the custodian of all children to ensure that this right of children to birth registration is not shambled upon. So we are in the process of setting up a research that will just evaluate and analyze the system of documentation in the country.